Welcome to Faith Speaks here at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, Catholic Radio and 102.7 FM WICX. And it's a pleasure. I'm Dick Patten, your host, and with me today is my special guest on Faith Speaks, Paul Parisi. And Paul, of course, is a member of the Concord Knights of Columbus, but he is a very, very faithful Catholic, and he's here to talk with me today about his faith and what it means to him. And right now we're in that special season of Lent, and when you think of Lent, of course, they always say, what did you give up for Lent?
Typically, I used to do that a lot when I was younger, and I remember one year, not too long ago, probably about 2011 or so, maybe earlier, 2009 actually, I gave up caffeine. That was going to be my big sacrifice for the Lord.
Really?
I'm going to give up, anything that wasn't milk or water, so no coffee, no Moxie, no soda, no just milk and water. That's all I was going to drink, and to tell you the truth, all it did was give me a massive headache and didn't bring me any closer to the Lord. And then, for those who remember Father Paul, when he was here, he said, instead of giving something up, try to take something on. And another priest, who I can't remember specifically who it was, I think it was Father John down at St. Peter's, who was there for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
He said, think of it as a workout. Think of it as training, getting yourself in better habits. So I started taking things on, doing things a little differently, whether one year it was to do the Chaplet of the Divine Mercy every Friday, or pray the Rosary every day, spend time in the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. Now that my kids are older, try to do something every day with them to get them interested in it.
Yeah.
Try to bring it to others as well, is what I've been trying to do this year. Just try to not so much spread the faith, convert people, but say, what I want to do is I want to take something on. Why don't you try taking something on? We'll do it together. And just going from there. I passed out a few brochures. I don't know how well it's taken with people, but I'm making the effort, and I find that a little bit more rewarding than giving up coffee, giving up candy,
Oh, I know.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I tried that because I converted to the Catholic religion back in 1985, but I've been learning more and more as I go along, and trying to understand what my faith is. And sometimes I have a lot of questions about things, and I sit in the Adoration Chapel and pray about it and think about it. And one of my worst things that I have problems with is death. I don't understand it still at times. And I keep asking, the Lord, what is, why? Why him? Why them? You've got some other people that don't mount to anything, and yet here's somebody who had so much life, or who had done so much to somebody, and why did you take them? But I think, he must have needed them.
Yeah. Now, that's one of the things that always inspired me is people are brought to us on this earth. They're in our lives, some for a very short amount of time, some for a long time, some we never meet.
Yeah.
And yet they can impact our lives greatly.
Oh, yeah.
My parents lost a child when day after he was born. It was my brother Stephen back in 1970. And yet I've always felt that he was my guardian angel. My grandfather died when I was 9 years old, so I never really got to know him, but he did so much to help me while I was alive, or while he was alive. He bought savings bonds that helped pay for my first 2 years of college. He also had some put away that helped me buy my engagement ring, or the engagement ring I gave to my wife. Just learning more about him and his devotion kind of helped me faithfully, and as being a man, regardless of faith, he took care of his family. Take care of what belongs to you. Your family belongs to you. Do what you can to do that. Other people, national figures. I remember when Mother Teresa and Princess Diana died. A CNN reporter saying, I guess the angels needed a little help. And there are times that maybe these people are needed elsewhere. And death scares me. I'm definitely not afraid. I'm not afraid of physically dying, but being dead. It kind of scares me. It's a frightening idea and concept. But at the same time, when I lose people who are special to me, who mean a lot to me, I don't want to say it was recently, because it was back in 2009, I lost my grandfather, who, for lack of a better term, I felt he could have walked on water. He was just an ordinary man, just a laborer, took care of himself, didn't bother too many other people.
Sure.
Little things he did, though, made me feel like I was someone special to him.
Yeah.
Taking me out for a muffin, going for a ride around town. The fact that we both grew up in the same part of town, we both went to the same church as kids. He wasn't particularly religious, mind you, but that was a special connection that he had with me.
Sure.
We were both named after our fathers.
Yeah.
We both played games at the same places. We both worked the same jobs. He really meant something to me. And when he died, while that could create a huge sense of loss, I was happy for him because I knew he wanted to be with his mom and his dad and his brothers and sisters. He wanted to be with his wife.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, death, it's scary for me thinking of what could happen afterwards. There's sometimes when I lose someone, though, I'm kind of happy for them because they're getting something they want.
Well, like I said, I lost my grandfather when I was my maternal grandfather when I was 13. I didn't really understand it too much, but we lived with him. And then my grandmother passed away in 1969, and I was 16 then. Almost 16, 15. But the worst part came when my mother passed away, and that was in 2000. Well, she took ill in 2007, and I didn't really comprehend how bad she was. But my father, of course, they had her put on a machine, and I didn't realize it was those machines that you live, breathing machine.
Oh, yeah, like life support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she was on that for a year and a week, and it was all around my birthday time. So I would go to see her every day, and there were some days she would know me, some days she wouldn't. But the hardest one, and I still have a hard time dealing with this, Father Paul and I have talked many times, is my dad. Now, he took ill, he had cancer, and he had surgery to take out the tumors. I was colon cancer, and of course, he kept asking for me. And of course, he had a friend, and that upset her because she felt she should have been in there. But hey, they kept wanting me in this. Of course, I went in. But then he almost died when he was at a nursing home for rehab. Thank goodness I was there. Yeah, we got a nurse in there, and she called the ambulance that saved him. He had pneumonia. But the worst thing was, Paul, when he had an attack at his friend's house in January of that year, and he had a living will, and I had to make the decision because he had said he did not want to die, that he wanted everything done to save him. So that meant all these machines, and they had done CPR and got him back again. They got the pulse, his heart was beating again, blood pressure came back up, and so for 3 days, he was at the hospital. They were doing all kinds of tests. The cancer, of course, had spread everywhere. It was spreading, and the doctor and I took me aside, and he said, Dick, you have to make a decision because you're the medical power of attorney and all that. And I said, well, what is that? And he said, we've done a lot of tests on your dad, and it doesn't look good. He's not going to come back. He's still in a coma type. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he said, well, in all sincerity, he said, you really should, disconnect the life support. But he said, that's your decision. You know what his wishes are. And, well, it was on a Thursday. And, of course, I was in the chapel Thursday from 4 to 5. So I left the hospital and came over here and sat for an hour praying on it. What do I do? What do I do? It's an awful thing to have somebody have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know about in your case, you and your wife, but you want to make sure you designate somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've prepared for that. And again, my wife is, a couple of years ago, concerned about, living well. We're both healthy.
Yeah.
We're both, doing fairly well. We've got a good career, but we got 2 little kids.
Sure.
Don't want to burden them with that decision.
Well, that's right.
And so, these are things that we've confronted. We've talked about getting well. Who's going to take care of them if something happens?
Oh, yes.
We have a few disagreements here and there, but, we want what's best for them. We want them to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I'm not so worried about them so much growing and developing as people, because I know there's plenty of good people who's going to look after them.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure it's taken care of so the future comes. So.
Oh, yes.
And then obviously my wife knows my wishes and I know her wishes, and we'll go from there. But like I said, I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very tough decision.
Mm-hmm.
And because he said right out, he did not want to go to a nursing home. He did not want dialysis. He did not want, what was the other thing he didn't want? And so what choice did I have?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make the decision to disconnect. And I'm telling you, Paul, it was, that night I didn't sleep. I just, I said, am I making the right thing? Am I doing the right decision? But then the alternative was he couldn't stay in the hospital. He'd have to be transferred to a nursing home or something.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't come home. Yeah. So, it was very, very
tough decision to make.
And, I've talked to like I said, Father Ray many times. I have a very good priest friend, Father Mark Dollard, who used to be here in Concord. And in fact, he came down for Dad's funeral and helped celebrate. And Father Chris Martell, who used to be in Concord, he and I are very close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And there was somebody else too I talked with, and it was just trying to make sure I did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so prayer,
yeah.
As much as sometimes I wonder if the Lord is listening, I have to admit that I really feel He is.
Yeah, I can give you a good example of the Lord working in strange ways, if you will.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. It was a few years ago. I was going through a little bit of trouble, trying to find a new job and everything. I was delivering the newspapers for the Concord Monitor, and I'd lost my rosary.
Oh, boy.
So,
yeah.
Couldn't find it. And this was like December, January. Things were getting rough. They were getting tougher and tougher for me.
Yeah.
To a point where I remember collapsing on the floor.
Oh, my.
And just pounding my chest, screaming, "What do you want from me? What do you expect? What do I need to do?"
Yeah.
I just didn't understand because I was having such a hard time finding a job. And then I just stopped. I paused for a moment. I thought of something from Scripture. Spread my arms out, and I just said, "Mother, behold your son."
Oh, wow.
I turned to the Blessed Mother.
Yeah.
I said, "Mother, behold your son. I'm a broken man. I need your help." That's the point where I finally said, I need help.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I kept saying, I need this, I need this, I need you to do, when I finally said, I need your help. When I turned to Blessed Mary, I've always been very devout to the Blessed Mother. And some of that is instilled to me from, as we talked about, ancestors from my grandmother. She was a member of the Madonna della Rosa Society in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And I just started praying a little bit of a devotional. I dropped my kids off at school, and then I'd go over here to the chapel and spend 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
In prayer, in solitude. Wheels started getting greased a little bit. Things started moving for me. I applied for one position, had an interview. The interview went very well. I applied for another position, which was a third shift district manager position with the Monitor. And I remember one night before I had my secondary interview with that, I said, I know it says we're not supposed to ask for answers and everything, but I just need a sign that you're listening, that you're hearing me. I need your help. I need your guidance. I'll always need that, but can you just show me that you're listening?
Sure.
When I drove up to the dock to get my newspapers, hanging from the bulletin board was the rosary I'd lost 4 months ago.
Oh my goodness, isn't that something?
I got that job. The other job through the state, which I'm now full time, which through your help. Giving me the reference and everything, and things have gone very well for me in the past couple of years.
Good.
A lot of that I attribute to the patience of my wife, to the support of my kids, and a lot of it I attribute to the power of prayer.
Oh yeah.
So, and that has always been as a resource for me.
Yeah.
I've had friends who, say, I don't believe in God. Why do I need to believe in God? I believe in myself. Well, I came to a point in my life where I did not believe in myself. I felt like a failure as a husband, a failure as a father, a failure as a friend, a failure as a Catholic, a failure as a knight, just a plain failure. But I turned to the Blessed Mother. I turned to the Lord. That was enough to give me the strength to move forward. So it worked out pretty good.
I'd say you've done very well, Paul. I remember those times you've had. And even myself now, I feel like, I've had such a rough... At 63, I just feel like sometimes I just don't feel like I've got anything to offer anybody. I feel like I'm just really sinking again, and I have my therapist, but it's an awful feeling, because no matter how much good I do or try to do, I just don't feel it inside that I'm doing anything. And it's like you say, where are your friends? And I said, where are my friends? The show was doing good until, we moved over here in September, October, and it was just floundering again. And then all of a sudden I meet Ian, and I'm telling you, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where we'd be, because this has been my 18th year, going on 19 this year, and I don't think it's 20, and it's been a great experience. I mean, this young man has really taken this show to areas I never thought were possible. But, he's been there and he's helped so much. And, it's times like this you really wonder. And I read a lot of stuff in the Rosary course. I try to do every day. I was doing it at 4:30 Mass once every few months on the 5th Saturday. But I fell off the altar one day, and it was an awful fall I took. I missed a step, didn't know it, but I went flying and hit the piano or whatever, and it was really bad. And luckily I didn't break anything. But then again, I went back and did it a couple more times and was careful, but the scare was there. And so I've enjoyed doing that, and I try to go to Mass early so I can sit and meditate. Now
I go to church. I got the 2 girls with me. My oldest is 9; she'll be 10 soon.
Wow.
My youngest is going to be 7 this year and everything. So I'm very proud of them. As you know, they're in Grace and Faith. They are my Grace and Faith.
Oh, okay.
And they
I remember Grace, but I guess I forgot about the other one.
Yeah. She's wonderful too. She's a little she's very energetic. Is the best way I can describe it. 3 of us go to church together. We sit in the front row.
She's healthy.
Yeah, they're both healthy. They're both wonderful kids. Grace is doing a program called Girls on the Run, and it's about being proud of who you are.
Yep.
Using athleticism, but also empowerment, if you will. Faith is kind of discovering what her niche is, what she wants to do. She's in 1st grade. So they're kind of my rock, and I look at them as the future. And then I look at, what I have with the Council and the Knights of Columbus, how much that has meant to me in growing as a Catholic. Again, when I first moved to Concord, we didn't know anyone.
No.
There was just my wife and I. We landed here by accident. I knew a few people. I knew you as a customer through the store.
I know, yeah.
But, I decided, why don't I join the Knights of Columbus? That way I can, we can get a little more involved with the community. Maybe meet some people. Well, obviously, you and I have developed a great friendship. I can't tell you how much the friendship of our Grand Knight Chuck McGee means to me.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful human being. Him and his family have been so good to us.
Well, that's good.
One of our brother knights is Faith's godparent. Him and his wife Debbie, Keith Tebow. So the council has meant so much to me in my present life. And going back to my my past, growing up, my faith was very organic, if you will. I'm a cradle Catholic.
Yeah.
I didn't come from a particularly religious family.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah. My dad pretty much dropped me off at church Sunday morning. I went to Mass and then CCD, and then I walked home. So my faith kind of grew organically that way. When I was a teenager, I was the one kid who wanted to go to Sunday school. I wanted to study a little more. I wanted to know a little more. I learned the stories that have meant so much to me now. Joseph in the Old Testament, St. Peter, and his devotion, his wavering, and yet his reaffirming. So I was the one kid who actually wanted to make confirmation, not just to get the presents, you know what I mean? And then when I was in college, I actually joined a Christian fellowship. It was an interdenominational Christian fellowship at the Plymouth State. It was called Chi Alpha. It was our pastor. His name was Reverend Eric Lovejoy and his wife Sarah. It was sponsored by the Assembly of God, but it was interdenominational.
Yeah.
And they taught me a new way to worship, a new way to look at things. A lot of people, some people aren't big into feeling the Spirit, but I love the worship music. I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed listening to people come from a different perspective. That is what meant, whether I agreed with them or disagreed with them, we could talk to each other, we could listen, and it opened our ideas, it opened our minds. And even going back to Chi Alpha, talking to Eric when I need just a little bit of advice or whatever, it's been so helpful for me, just as I develop my faith and how I grow. Like I said, we come closer in a way.
We were never a religious family either. I mean, every Sunday, my aunt or uncle would take their two kids, my cousins, and my sister and I, and we went to First Baptist Church for Sunday school. We never joined that church, but we went to Sunday school. And then after a while, we stopped going because we had a summer camp in York, Maine, and that was it. And then finally we came back, and Paul, I wanted to become a deacon so bad. In 1992, I met a retired priest over in Exeter when I was doing licensing over there. And I approached him and I said, I would love to become a deacon. I felt like I had the call. But my wife said, no way. She was not happy about that. But I felt inside of me, I had this feeling that's what I wanted to do. So, but now I'm too old.
See, I actually looked into this recently because it's something that I've been thinking about. I will be honest, it's something I want to do.
And I think you'd make a good one.
But right now, and when I look at what the church requires,
it is. It's a lot.
There's a lot of you, but it's also the other things. Your wife has to be on board with you, as they said. And if you have young children, not the time to do it.
No.
But it'd be great. And again, I don't know if I'll do it or not. I just don't know. But one of the things I kind of think about.
If you do, you let me know.
Yeah, but one of the things I think about is, being older, being able to walk my daughter down the aisle and then officiate the ceremony. Being able to baptize my grandchildren. Being able to give them their first Holy Communion.
Well,
that'd be a great thing for me.
If you do,
we'll see what happens.
You let me know, because I want to be a sponsor or whatever, but I would be so honored because I think you would make a good one. And that's how I felt, because I felt like I was really and I couldn't get enough learning. I wanted to learn, I wanted to read. I've always loved the Christmas story. And I had said, when I die, I want that as part of my funeral, is the Advent, the Christmas story. I've always loved that part. But,
So you're Mr. Christmas. So.
Yeah, there you go. But it's tough for some people who aren't into that. And I have friends who are Jewish, I have friends who are Mormons, and I to this day, I don't care. They respect my thoughts, and I respect theirs.
I got a really good friend of mine he's a solitary coven of a Wicca.
A what?
Witch. He's a witch. Solitary coven. But, he's by himself. But, and I've known him since college, but we can sit, we can talk.
Yeah.
He had a rough patch this year, and I won't go into too many details, but I love that man.
Yeah.
Very much. He's always been a good friend to me, and I'm trying to be a good friend to him that he needs. He knows I pray for him. I don't know if he prays for me or not, but he knows I pray for him, and he knows I'm doing it to help him. I'm not doing it because he needs to convert, needs to be fixed or anything. He needs help, and I love him. I'm going to pray for him. He appreciates what I do, even if he doesn't believe it's doing him any good, but he appreciates it, and that's kind of the respect that I appreciate from him and that he appreciates from me.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a legislator. He's got cancer, colon cancer. It's in stage 4, high 4. He's from the Plastow area, and he got notified on Christmas Eve day that he had cancer. Now, isn't that terrible? Mm-hmm. He's not Catholic, but he was brought up Catholic, but he's straight away. But he's so thankful because I tell him I pray for him every day. Mm-hmm. And boy, I tell you, and I know what you mean about the rosary. I have probably 2 or 3 rosaries, and sometimes I can't find any of them, but I know where they are. I got one right in my pocket now.
Yeah, me too. I carry my Knights of Columbus rosary with me everywhere I go.
I've still got that one.
I have to replace it every so often because I lose them and whatnot.
And then when Dad passed away, I have his now. Mm-hmm. So it's very much to me. But we're coming to a close of Faith Speaks, and we've been talking with Paul Parisi, who is a member of the Knights of Columbus, but he's also a member of, is it this parish, or are you down at Christ the King?
I'm down at Christ the King now.
Yeah, Christ the King. And because I was converted down there. Yeah. When it was St. John's.
Yeah, my wife and I got married up here and baptized the kids down there.
And we were just down there. We got married down there, and then we're up here. But of course, we live up here anyway. But it's been a real pleasure sharing your thoughts today, Paul. And I'm always here for you. Mm-hmm. Always here for you.
Oh, you've been a great friend over the past 13 years now.
I know. Well, hey, I try. That's all I can say. I try, but sometimes I get booted for it. But anyway, well, you have a very, very happy Lent season and a happy Easter coming up. And anytime you want to come back on, please do.
Hey, not a problem.
And thank you to my director, Ian, and for doing Faith Speaks. And again, listen to us on Saturdays at 4:30 p.m., Sundays 9:30 a.m. on WICX 102.7 FM, Catholic Radio, Hope Catholic Radio. And we'll look forward to hearing from you again soon, and tune us in. And if you'd like to come on in. So thank you very much. God bless you, Paul, and say a prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Patten.